Colts and Lions inside Ford Field. Lions at 4-7. Colts are 7-4. Iron Eagle, Dan Faust, the rest of our CBS crew. Great to be with you on this Week 13 Sunday in the NFL. Lions trying to snap a losing streak. Meanwhile, Bruce Arians has done a terrific job stepping in for Chuck Pagano. Indefinite leave of absence for Pagano, battling leukemia. He was at the game last week at Lucas Oil Stadium. Players have shaved their heads to show support. Cheerleaders have as well. Jim Schwartz, he actually grew up a huge Colts fan, a Baltimore Colt fan. Burt Jones was his guy growing up in Maryland.
Burt Jones, who was drafted in 1973, the greatest draft class for quarterbacks ever.
What? But do we have proof of that or no? Is there a graphic showing me that?
Jim Schwartz backs me up on that one.
He does. He's a huge Burt Jones fan. Had a chance to talk to him a couple of years ago when Matthew Stafford was going through shoulder problems and wanted some input. Detroit won the toss. Indianapolis kicks it off. McAfee to Stephon Logan. Logan unable to return it. Big kick from McAfee. The Lions have it at the 20-yard line. And there is Matthew Stafford putting up huge numbers again this season, just not translating to wins.
Well, they feel, and he feels, that they can move the ball on anybody, especially with how well Calvin Johnson's playing. Stafford told us that although Johnson's always been a deep threat, his improvement in the intermediate routes is what has him on pace to break Jerry Rice's single-season yardage record.
Double tight end set to open things up with Tony Scheffler and Brandon Pettigrew. 1st and 10 from the 20 for Detroit. Stafford to throw it on 1st down. And he gets Calvin Johnson involved right away. Johnson is brought down by Cassius Vaughn. Johnson is the human mismatch in this league. Take a look at the starting offense for Detroit. Jeff Backus is back. His 186-game starting streak ended on Thanksgiving because of a hamstring injury. He lines up at that left tackle spot as he has now for 12 years. Backs and receivers, Johnson, you alluded to it. Jerry Rice's NFL single-season record for yards receiving, 1848, set back in 1995. And Johnson needs to average just over 118 yards per game the rest of the way to break it. 3-receiver set. LaSure gets the nod for a 3-yard gain. Michael LaSure out of Illinois, with Jarrell Freeman making the stop. Defensively for Indianapolis, Ricardo Matthews makes his first start. Fili Moala placed on IR with a torn ACL this week. Linebackers, Freeman has been a tackling machine. He is a terrific story. We'll tell you more about that as we continue here. And in the secondary, Vontae Davis returns. Davis had missed the last 4 games with a knee injury. Came over in that deal with Miami. Shotgun formation, 2nd and 7. Stafford swing pass. LaSure can't handle it. Momentum on that lead feed, but not quite enough of it to haul it in.
Well, LaSure has caught 24 passes this season. That ball had a little bit too much steam on it for the tailback. Tough catch running towards the line of scrimmage. Ball coming quickly. Concentration there may have been a factor for LaSure.
Yeah,
or lack of concentration.
LaSure goes off the field on 3rd down. Kevin Smith comes in to replace him. Detroit enters action. Among the best offenses in the NFL. Number 2 in total offense, but 14th in scoring. 24.3 points per game. On 3rd down, Stafford. Drop ball, Tony Scheffler. Jarrell Freeman, the linebacker, had the coverage for Indy, and Detroit will punt it.
And that's the mismatch that Stafford wanted. Out to the left side of the screen, he's got a linebacker on the talented wide receiver / tight end, Tony Scheffler. Good coverage there by Freeman.
Nick Harris comes on, the 12-year veteran, punting to T.Y. Hilton, AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. After a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown against Buffalo, fair catch called for. And a 50-yard punt for Harris. We will see Andrew Luck and the Colts offense on the field when we return. Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts, 5-1 at home this season. They are 2-3 on the road. And their first possession of the day, a 1st and 10 at the 16-yard line to open things up with Fleener and Allen, 2 tight ends. Vic Ballard in the backfield. And Reggie Wayne having a tremendous season in motion. Luck looking that way. Luck is sacked by Sue. And Dominican Sue busting through on the rookie Luck.
Now the strength of this pass rush is going to be Fairley and Sue Fairley takes the inside, takes reach back. That opened the lane up for Sue to get to the quarterback. But this is the strength of this pass rush. Both with Fairley and Sue trying to get penetration up in the pocket where Luck wants to go. His natural instinct is to step up into the pocket. That's bad news today.
2nd and 17. Loss of 7. Luck underneath. Ball got batted in the air. Incomplete. Donnie Avery, the intended receiver, and Indianapolis now facing a 3rd and long to open things up. Andrew Luck, the rookie out of Stanford. What a year he's had. He's packed a lot in over 11 months.
Yeah, ball security is his primary focus today against the Lions. He's had 4 fumbles and 10 interceptions on the road. And again, we talked about the strength of that pass rush. The Lions want to force him to step up in the pocket where Sue and Fairley will be there as they were on the first down play.
Colts coming off a 20-13 win over Buffalo. This is a 3rd and 17. Set up the screen for Ballard. Zip Ballard with a spin move to get back some of the yards, but not nearly enough for a first down. Indianapolis will punt it after the 8-yard gain. This is the offense you'll see throughout the day. Mike McGlynn, he's got the challenge up front, dealing with Fairley and Sue on that defensive line. Tremendous front 7 for Detroit. The backs and receivers. Fleener is back. He's the rookie out of Stanford. Played with Luck in college. Fleener has missed the last 4 games with a shoulder injury. Pat McAfee will punt it. He comes in averaging 48 yards per kick. Stephon Logan standing at his own 35. Logan across the 40, gets thrown down at the 42 by Sergio Brown on special teams. Lions get the football back. Sue with an early statement on defense for Detroit. Well, we've hit December, Christmas time in the air here in Detroit. Roasted marshmallows, get you a s'mores at halftime, Dan.
Thank you.
Pettigrew and Heller now the tight ends. LaShore in the backfield. He gets the call. LaShore under the gun, not much there. Give him a gain of 1 on the play as Ricardo Matthews makes that tackle for Indy.
It looked like LaShore wanted to bounce that to the outside, but then he saw Antoine Bethea come up from his secondary safety position. That forced him back in the middle where there was absolutely nothing for LaShore.
Nickel package now for Indianapolis. Darius Butler is in. Butler had been starting in the absence of Vontae Davis. They lost Gerard Powers to a toe injury. Shotgun, 2nd and 9. That sidearm delivery to Calvin Johnson. Antoine Bethea with a hit, and that brings up our Fouts focus and questions about the mechanics of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, he's received some bogus criticism for his throwing mechanics. Given time to throw, his motion is classically overhead. When forced to move, he'll drop to 3-quarter delivery, and when faced with an unblocked defender in his face, sidearm works just fine. Doesn't matter what it looks like, Ian. What matters is it caught or not? It reminds me a lot of another number 9 Hall of Famer, Sonny Jurgensen. By the way, Stafford completes 60% of his passes.
Yeah, we asked Jim Schwartz about it. Said, hey, Matt can throw it any way you want him to. The way the game is now, you have to be able to adjust based on the situation. Raiola and Sherilis, there was some movement.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 98. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
But Bill Vinovich telling us it works against Robert Mathis of Indianapolis. So the veteran gets flagged. Colts come in, number 20 in overall team defense, 22nd in scoring defense. And Bruce Arians now in his 20th year in the NFL. Penalties have been a bit of an issue for this young Indy squad. That was not against a youngster, though. It was Mathis, the 10-year veteran. 3rd and 2. From the gun, Stafford. Calvin Johnson, a huge target. And that's what you were talking about earlier, Dan, in our conversation with Stafford. Johnson built his reputation on being that deep threat, but he's really worked on that part of his game, the intermediate.
Well, his size, look how he just shoves Vaughn out of the way. That's pure strength. You got to double team him every play. You can't allow this man to be single covered at all. He's just too big, too strong, too fast, too everything.
4 straight 125-plus yard games. He leads the NFL in receiving yards and the NFC Offensive Player of the Month. Outside, Ryan Broyles Broyles, the rookie out of Oklahoma, had his bust-out game last week against Houston. It's a 3-yard pickup. Vontae Davis over there defensively. So a November to remember for Calvin Johnson. Look at these numbers. They've just become routine for Megatron.
And the number he's chasing is that of Jerry Rice, and a number that nobody ever thought anybody would ever come close to. Kind of like these passing records for quarterbacks, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
2nd and 7 now for Detroit. On the move, just across the 35. Back to the run game. LaSure trying to pound it inside. LaSure takes it to the 30-yard line. Missed all of last season with an Achilles tendon injury. Still a little bit raw, but they believe that there's a high ceiling for Michael LaSure as a physical running back. Good burst, rugged, 6 foot, 233, well put together.
Yeah, and they only average about 100 yards per game on the ground, but Stafford feels that if they spread the formations, give LaSure and Joique Bell room, that they can make yardage up the middle.
Now it's Kevin Smith in. Stafford out of the gun on a 3rd and 4 for Detroit. Play clock down to 3. Stafford looks, throws, incomplete. Johnson, the intended receiver. And this drive stalls in Indy territory as Mathis put the hit on Stafford as he released the football.
Well, this is what Mathis is so good at. He just runs right around Charles, and you can see on the other side, Freeney got around back as they met at the quarterback, as they have done so many times in their careers.
Jason Hanson, who hit the upright on a 47-yard attempt in overtime that would have won the game against Houston. This from 48 yards away. And the 42-year-old knocks it through. 21 years in the NFL, Jason Hanson, #1 among active players in career points. He just added 3 more to his total. Lions on the board first. Look at the clinching scenarios here in Week 13 of the NFL. This is pretty incredible. In the AFC, all 4 teams can win their division. We still have a bunch of games still to play, but Houston gets in the playoffs with a win. Baltimore, AFC North title with a win, a Cincinnati loss. New England, AFC East title with a win. Denver, same situation in the AFC West. And in the NFC, Atlanta is in, winning the NFC South with a Tampa Bay loss. There are other combinations that get those teams into the playoffs as well. Those are the most simple ones, though, currently, as Joe Wrights is being carted off. Wrights, starter at left guard, and here's Jeff Linkenbach, who would step in for him on offense for Indianapolis. Jason Hanson picks it off. Cassius Vaughn will take the touchback, and time for us to get a bonus Fouts focus, the maturity of Andrew Luck.
Well, he is so well advanced. Watch him in the red zone after the play action fake. How he looks the safety off to the left, finds a secondary receiver in the back of the end zone. But his training at Stanford shows him doing basically the same thing. Play action fake to the tailback, look off the safety, find his outlet receiver for the score. Luck is way beyond his years in his development as an NFL quarterback, thanks to his time spent down on the farm.
And he said he's still emotionally attached to all those guys. He watched the game the other night, the Pac-12 championship, Stanford going to the Rose Bowl. Handoff, Ballard leans in for a 4-yard gain, hit by Justin Durant. Let's show you the Detroit defense, and Nick Fairley getting the start. Corey Williams is active, but Williams has been struggling with a knee injury. Linebackers, Stephen Tulloch last week against Houston, 12 solo tackles, 15 tackles overall. And in the secondary, Louis Delmas is not 100%. Delmas, in fact, did not play in the overtime against Houston because of left knee soreness. Ricardo Silva getting the start. That ball got hit. Incomplete. Donnie Avery, the intended target. Jacob Lacey with the coverage, the former Indianapolis Colt, now lining up in the secondary for Detroit.
Yeah, and Ndamukong Suh with a quick move to the inside on Mike McGlynn. He's going to get his hands on that ball. Watch Suh right here. Come right, shoot the gap here. And Luck has his right arm hit just as he delivers that ball. Another big impact play for Suh. 2 now, in the first quarter.
Lions have been able to apply pressure on Luck in the early going. We've got 8:14 to play in this opening quarter. Detroit with a 3-0 lead on Indy. 4 receivers set. Luck out of the gun. Steps, throws, on line to T.Y. Hilton. It's a foot race for Hilton. Hilton goes down inside the 20. Big play. Hilton, the rookie out of Florida International, continues to produce for Bruce Arians' offense.
Well, and watch Luck as he gets the snap from center. He knows that he's got the post route to Hilton, and Hilton gets inside the safety that time. Looked like Don Carey missed the tackle, and then it's that foot race. Hilton thinking he can swing back to the inside, but a huge play for the Indianapolis Colts.
60 yards, longest pass play of the season for Indy. Shotgun formation for Luck. Protection holds. Luck to the end zone. Too high. Kobe Fleener, the intended receiver. It is Jeff Linkenbach who is in there right now for the injured Joe Wrights. As soon as we get word on Wrights, we'll pass it along.
Fleener, who's been out of the lineup for 4 straight games. Little mistiming here with the quarterback. Luck threw the ball to the field side, not towards the sideline, or this would have been a touchdown because Fleener is beyond the linebacker there. Levy would have been an easy score for the Colts.
2nd and 10 now for the Colts. 7:18 to play in this first quarter. Indianapolis operating in the red zone. Wayne, the motion man. Running play. Nothing there for Ballard. He gets slammed down. Tulloch, first man there to slow him down. It'll be 3rd and long.
And the Colts are going to have trouble moving the ball on the ground against this Lion defense. They're going to have to make their money, if you will, through the air as they did on that 60-yarder to Hilton. Louis Delmas, who's battling a bad knee, was out of the lineup on that play. Jim Schwartz said they're going to have to spot duty him because his knee swells up so often. Delmas back in the lineup now for the Lions, but wasn't in there on that long pass to Hilton.
4 receivers set. 3rd and 11 now for Luck and the Colts. Deep drop. Throws. He's got Avery. Flag down. Avery is in. Touchdown, Indianapolis.
They're going to call pass interference on the Lions. This is going to count against the blitz. Luck stands tough and delivers a perfect pass to Avery.
Pass interference. Defense number 32. Spot foul. Automatic. First down.
Well, I think it's more than an automatic first down.
Yeah, I think it's an automatic touchdown, don't you? Great job of Luck. You see Delmas 26 coming free on the quarterback. And Luck saw him coming all the way, knew he had single coverage on the outside. Avery beats his man Florence to the post and into the end zone.
And Bill Vinovich just signaled touchdown for Indianapolis. That plays right into what Reggie Wayne was talking about. We asked him about Luck. He said, it seems like the throws are effortless, but they've got major zip on them. He's a big kid. Luck is 6'4", 235 pounds.
And the other part about Luck is how he does in clutch situations. Both those big pass plays on this drive came on 3rd down.
Vinatieri, the extra point. Indianapolis goes out in front on Detroit. Great answer by the Colts. The Indianapolis Colts marched down the field. 6 plays, 80 yards. It took just 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Avery with a 17-yard touchdown reception. The big play, 60 yards to T.Y. Hilton. McAfee will kick it off. Logan is the deep man for Detroit. Logan thought about it. Now he's going to take it out of the end zone. Stutter step move. Logan is drilled at the 12-yard line. Hit by Jerry Hughes.
I'll go back to the touchdown, and Andrew Luck watches Louis Delmas right here coming on the blitz. Good pass protection. Delmas is free, but so is Avery on the outside as he gets inside of Drayton Florence and dives across the line, though.
So Detroit takes over, a 1st and 10 at the 13-yard line. 6:24 to play in this first quarter. Neither team has established the running game yet. We'll see if LaSure can get something going here. LaSure tried to dance his way on the outside. Vontae Davis helping in run support. A 4-yard gain for Michael LaSure. Got a sports fan on your gift list? CBSSports.com shop has officially licensed NFL gear and NCAA gear from over 500 schools and 3-day shipping on every order at shop.cbssports.com.
And I know what I'm getting you for Christmas now.
What are you getting me?
A brand new handsome suit.
I'm going to get you a brand new beard trimmer.
Just what I always wanted.
2nd and 6. Knee injury for Broyles. His return is questionable for Detroit. They have 2 inactive wide receivers. Jork Bell, the acceleration and a first down. Out across the 30-yard line. Bell, his 32nd catch of the year, now has 327 yards through the air.
A great move by Bell, getting away from Antonio Johnson on the screen pass. Watch the nose tackle read this, but not able to make the tackle right there, and now 2 blockers out in front for Bell, and it's a key first down to get the Lions some breathing room.
Yeah, just to reiterate on Detroit offensively, Ryan Broyles, the knee injury, torn ACL in November of 2011 when he was at Oklahoma. Titus Young inactive. Brian Robisky inactive. Fake the handoff. Stafford looking downfield. Stafford to the sideline. Oh, what a grab! Tony Scheffler.
But this is a great call by the official. Spectacular catch by Scheffler. Beautiful footwork. Left foot down. Right foot drag. Possession throughout the catch. Fantastic play.
Detroit gets to the line quickly. Hands it off to LaSure. So if Indy was contemplating whether or not to throw the challenge flag, Detroit didn't give him much of a window.
That is real close to when did the ball actually reach his hands. It's a moot point right now because the Lions got quickly to the line of scrimmage, snapped the ball. No review now. That's just a beautiful picture. I got to give Stafford some credit too. He saw Scheffler down the field and he put the ball the only place Scheffler could make the catch.
39-yard pass play. They lost 3 on the running play. The quick strike, Calvin Johnson. And he's hit at the 25-yard line. Cavell Connor and Cassius Vaughn. You talked about double-teaming Johnson. Well, Indianapolis trying to do that against the most dangerous wide receiver in the NFL right now.
4 catches already for 34 yards. Stafford's completed 7 of 10. Watched practice on Friday, and it was the same way in practice. Most of the ball's going towards number 81, and why not?
3rd and 6 now for Detroit, trailing 7-3. Darius Butler on as an extra defensive back. Stafford pats the ball, swings it to Scheffler. 6-yard pickup as he got hit down low by Darius Butler, who lost his helmet on the play. And it is enough for a first down.
And we could have a shootout here today, the way these quarterbacks can throw it and how poorly these pass defenses are. Colts give up 233 yards on the average through the air. Right now, Stafford's getting great time to throw.
So, new set of downs for Detroit inside the Indy 20. Down to 2:35 remaining in this opening quarter. Running play. LaSure trying to push the pile. Antonio Johnson, first man there, and then just about everybody helped him out to bring down Michael LaSure, a 3-yard pickup. Red zone numbers on the season. Detroit does rank 5th in touchdown percentage, over 62% of the time. 8th play of this drive for the Lions. 525 yards of offense in a loss to Houston on Thanksgiving, 34-31. In week 3, they had 583 yards in a loss to Tennessee. Stafford throws, end zone, Brandon Pettigrew holds onto it. Tremendous grab. 16-yard strike from Stafford. Lions go in front.
And he's 6'5", and Stafford knows that. He knows to put the ball over the top of the linebackers. Here's Pettigrew just going to the post here. Foku is in coverage here, 58. That's no matchup there for Indianapolis. Ball thrown perfectly, and watch how Pettigrew goes up and fights for this ball. Pulls it away from the linebacker.
The issue for Pettigrew has been the fumbles, including the big one in overtime against Houston. He's had 8 drops this year, 3 fumbles. We asked Stafford about Pettigrew. He said, I know he's doing everything he can to cut out those fumbles. He's a big-time player and a mismatch nightmare for teams. They go 87 yards. Touchdown to take the lead. 8 plays, 87 yards. It took 4 minutes and 41 seconds. Pettigrew, the touchdown. That is his 3rd of the season. And Matthew Stafford, 15 touchdowns now on the year. Jason Hansen will kick it off after he knocked through the extra point to give Detroit a 10-7 lead. Vaughn, the deep man, and he'll take a knee. Not going to run it out. 4 yards deep in the end zone.
Go back to the touchdown, and Antoine Bethea is kind of in a bind here because this is Calvin Johnson. Here's Scheffler on the outside, and here's Pettigrew. Pettigrew's going to go to the post right behind the linebacker, Moises Foku. But it's Bethea who has to choose here. Wisely chooses Calvin Johnson, but a quarterback will take a tight end over a middle linebacker down the middle of the field, especially a big talented one like Pettigrew any day.
Stafford leading the NFL in passing yards coming in and passing attempts. He's averaging 312 yards per game. Toss it out to Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne comes in leading the NFL in receptions. 6-yard pickup as we head to New York. NFL Today, JB and Boomer.
Bears out front early.
Well, cover without the Bears is like the Chargers without Fouts. They're irreplaceable. 7 yards, Donnie Avery, touchdown pass. They take a lead on Seattle 7-0.
Earl Bennett getting it done. Tell Dan Fouts I agree with Boomer.
I think Dan heard you loud and clear.
Tell Boomer I agree with him too.
2nd and 4 now. Atlanta can't clinch with a Seattle loss. Donald Brown gets buried in the backfield. Kyle Vanden Bosch, who used to go against these Colts quite often when he was a member of the Tennessee Titans. This is a different Indianapolis squad, of course. In fact, Jim Schwartz was the defensive coordinator under Jeff Fisher. We asked him about taking on Indy. He said, nope, the offense, defense, completely different than the team that I saw back in my AFC South days.
Another big 3rd down for Luck. Had 2 big conversions last drive, got him into the end zone.
Third and 7. Wayne in motion. Colts down by 3. The throw, almost intercepted. Durant had a shot at it. Donnie Avery, the intended receiver. NFL Today update. Back to New York. JB and Boomer.
Houston trying to help its own cause.
Now, a little rest finally after a 10-day layoff from Thanksgiving. Matt Schaub finds Lestar Jean. He takes it 54 yards. If Houston wins, they get into the playoffs.
All right, Ian and Dan.
Houston at 10-1. A win would tie them with Atlanta for the best record in the NFL at 11-1. McAfee the punt to Logan, trying to work the perimeter. Logan avoids a tackle and then gets hit towards the sideline by Cavell Connor on special teams. 61-yard punt and a 9-yard return. Well, they've faced some of the worst criminals of all time, but tomorrow they'll take on a real stunner. A Victoria's Secret model. Don't miss a new Hawaii 5-0. That's tomorrow only. CBS. 17 seconds to play in this first quarter. Detroit 10, Indianapolis 7. We asked Sue about Andrew Luck, and he said, yeah, I've been impressed. He said, but He's a rookie, and we're going to show him some things that he's never seen before. First and 10 from the 25-yard line. Off the bootleg, Pettigrew. And brought down right at the 35 by Foku. That'll be the final play of this first quarter. We'll see where they spot it, whether or not they give him a first down. End of one, 10-7. Lions in front. You're watching the NFL on CBS. You vote, they play. Send your favorite players to the 2013 Pro Bowl in Hawaii. Vote online or with your mobile device at NFL.com/Pro Bowl, or you can text Pro Bowl to MyNFL. It wasn't up for a first down, so new set of downs for Detroit to work with to open up this second quarter. A 10-7 lead on Indianapolis. Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts, and the rest of our CBS crew. Quick slant, and the quick hitter to Calvin Johnson. He's brought down at the 40-yard line, a 5-yard pickup.
Last drive for the Lions. Matthew Stafford was perfect. 5 for 5 for 83 yards. This one got them rolling. 39-yard beauty to Scheffler. Then Calvin Johnson makes his 4th catch of the day. It's all topped off by the 16-yard touchdown reception for Pettigrew. And a hot quarterback working there in Honolulu blue.
Stafford's been able to mix it up and spread it around, but no Ryan Broyles right now because of the knee injury. Joik Bell banged down just short of the first down. He picks up 4 yards. So they'll mix and match at the running back position with Bell, with LaShore, and with Kevin Smith. They are thin at wide receiver. Titus Young inactive. Brian Robisky inactive. Kasim Osgood more of a special teams guy as he's been throughout his career.
The benefit they have, though, is Scheffler, because Scheffler can play out wide as a wide receiver or as an H-back and moving or lining up as a tight end. So I don't think that the loss of Broyles will hurt that much. We've already seen Scheffler's contribution.
And now Stephon Logan is in the backfield. 7 straight completions for Stafford. And a give right up the middle for LaShore. Forward progress will get him the first down. Time for another NFL Today update. JB and Boomer, very busy bunch of guys.
Minnesota answering back.
NFC quarterbacks are hot today. Christian Ponder gets on the board. Touchdown pass to Kyle Rudolph, 7 yards. Kyle Rudolph, by the way, 8 touchdowns on the season thus far. 10-7 Green Bay over the Vikings.
All right, time for me to say back to the bird and the beard.
Okay, JB, thank you. We appreciate it. You like it, don't you?
Absolutely.
Pump fake. Stafford, there's the sidearm throw to Pettigrew. So the former high school shortstop and catcher that can bring it from many different angles. He said baseball has absolutely helped him as a football thrower. 17 yards, LaFedge with the hit.
Well, he's just got so much confidence. Playing shortstop, you have to throw the ball off balance a lot. Got to get rid of it quickly. It doesn't really matter the arm angle that you throw it with, just so long as it's caught. And this one is a beauty as he let Pettigrew work back inside the linebacker. 8 straight completions now for Stafford.
Inside the Indy 40. Stafford pulls the trigger. Johnson, one-handed stab. Calvin Johnson. A human highlight reel.
They don't call him Megatron for nothing. All he needs is one hand. How about sticking that right one out? Pins it against his body, gets down with both feet. Ball does not move. 32 yards inside the 10. How many times? I'll watch that highlight forever. Great throw again by Stafford. 9 in a row now for Stafford.
And first and goal for Detroit, trying to add to this 10-7 lead. 6 catches, 70 yards for Calvin Johnson in the first half. LaShore in the backfield. Stafford looks, slings it, drop ball. Would have been a touchdown for Mike Thomas. Thomas had a touchdown last week in the game against Houston. Vontae Davis and Antoine Bethea back there defensively.
Yeah, I think Bethea is, he should get credit for knocking this ball out. Again, a little sidearm, but the pressure was right in his face. Ball right on target. Ball bounced off the chest of Mike Thomas before Buffet could even get there. Lucky it wasn't picked off by Davis.
2nd and goal for the Lions. Most drops in the NFL this season, the Detroit Lions. A blast up the middle. LaShore keeps on going. Touchdown, Detroit. The offensive game plan has been a good one.
Well, they spread them out with 2 wide receivers, Calvin Johnson to the left side. A lot of attention there, anticipating the fade route. And look at the blocking up front, just absolutely perfect. Little trap play there. Rob Sims coming over, Raiola up the middle, and LaShore gets his 6th rushing touchdown of the season.
Extra point from Hansen. Detroit extends the lead, 17-7. Michael LaShore out of Illinois, a physical back that helped him get to the end zone. Detroit Lions go 8 plays, 75 yards, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. LaShore, the 6-yard touchdown run to put 7 on the board. Stafford was tremendous on that drive, 4 of 5, and he got an incredible catch from Calvin Johnson to keep things going. Jason Hansen will kick it off. Cassius Vaughn is deep for Indy. Another good kick from the ageless one, Jason Hansen. Colts will have it at the 20-yard line.
Great blocking on that touchdown for the Lions. Watch the finesse here of Jeff Backus as he'll set up the trap block for Biederman. Antonio Johnson there gets trapped. LaShore overpowers the linebacker to get into the end zone, but it was all set up by this one-handed beauty by Calvin Johnson.
.200 yards of offense for Detroit. We still have a long 27 to go in this first half. Fake the handoff, Luck set up the screen. It's Dwayne Allen. Allen busting it to the outside. Allen down the sideline. And tripped up by Carey. Dwayne Allen. They are really talented at tight end with Allen, Fleener, and Wesley Saunders.
Here he is lined up right here. It's a tight end screen, really well set up. 2 blockers out in front, Costanzo and McGlynn. Block on the outside by Fleener. And how about the rookie getting down the sidelines for 40 yards? That's his longest catch of his young NFL career.
The John Mackey Award winner, top tight end in college football out of Clemson. 51 completions of 20 or more yards for Andrew Luck. That's the most in the NFL. And flags come down. McGlynn and Corey Williams were matched up on the line.
I think Corey Williams jumped first.
Encroachment. Defense number 99. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
So the call from Bill Vinovich.
Watch Williams jump in the neutral zone. That will cause the movement by Winston Justice, but it was the defense that moved first.
So they move the football to the 35-yard line of Detroit. Indianapolis trailing by 10. Colts do not have an official rushing yard here this afternoon. This is a 1st and 5. Vic Ballard is in the backfield. Take the handoff. Luck steps into the pocket. Oh, he got hit very hard as he released the football by Williams.
Now that's one way to make amends for jumping off sides.
There is a flag on the play, but it's back at the 24-yard line in the secondary.
Holding. Defense number 31. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
And that's the veteran Drayton Florence now in his 10th year in the league.
That's a big hit on Andrew Luck as he stepped up in the pocket. He likes to step up into the pocket. Check out the holding here by Florence. Working out Donnie Avery. He's got him for about 10 yards with a grab around the throat.
And a first down at the 30-yard line of the Lions. 17-7, Detroit in front. Handoff. Ballard. Not A whole lot of running room, a 4-yard pickup for Vic Ballard, the rookie out of Mississippi State.
Go back to Corey Williams' big hit on Andrew Luck. 6'4", 234 pounds, and he gets a clean shot from Williams right in the ribs. Talk about his toughness. He is being tested here in the first half by this Lion defense.
That was a big theme in our discussions with the Lions, that Luck will step up and put himself in a vulnerable position sometimes in that pocket. Take the handoff. Luck sets. He fires. Great grab by Fleener. Touchdown, Indianapolis. Kobe Fleener, his first NFL touchdown. He and Luck did that quite often back in their Stanford days. It's a 26-yard hookup. Indianapolis cuts into the Detroit lead.
And Fleener ought to hang on to this ball because this is his first NFL touchdown. They've worked on this a few times. But again, it's the mismatch that you're looking for. The young quarterback finding DeAndre Levy on his tight end, split out wide.
Andrew Luck, his second touchdown of the day. 26 yards per completion for Luck, 157 yards overall. 17-14 Lions. Back in downtown Detroit, here in Ford Field, look at the Joe Louis fist on display. A lot of offense, a lot of punches thrown, in fact. 354 combined yards between these two teams. Andrew Luck spreading it around to 6 different receivers. McAfee kicks it off to Stephon Logan. He's taking it out of the end zone. Logan, the stutter step, buried at the 16-yard line of Detroit.
Go back to the touchdown. Donnie Avery is going to run a post route here. That clears out the corner. Here is Fleener, and here is Levy. Watch Fleener go to the sideline and then down the field. Great pass protection. Luck can stand there and stare this one down and put it exactly where he wants to the 6'6" Kobe Fleener.
And Fleener, his first NFL touchdown. Apparently, that is the jackhammer move of some sort.
That doesn't make sense. A Stanford grad, from a Stanford grad with a jackhammer?
I don't know.
Never going to happen.
Working construction. Handoff right up the middle. And a 2-yard gain, pushing and shoving after the play. Yeah, the officials jump in there to make sure it does not explode beyond that. LaShore picks up the yardage. Corey Redding was involved.
You know, these defenses are going to start getting a little bit testy, don't you think? They haven't stopped either offense. Be frustrated. The secondaries have just been shredded by these two quarterbacks.
So LaShore remains in there on a 2nd and 8 now with 9 minutes to play in this first half. 17-14 Detroit from the gun. Stafford throws, popped up in the air, incomplete. Trying to squeeze it in to Mike Thomas. Cassius Vaughn with the coverage.
Well, Calvin Johnson has 6 catches for 70 yards here in the first half. A couple of slant routes where he can use his size and strength. But talked about him being 6'5" with long arms, and how about a strong right hand?
We asked him about the different coverages he's seen. He said, look, teams try to doctor things up against me. Linebackers, defensive ends will bump me. I expect to see something new all the time. Teams have been very creative, but he still produces. 3rd and 8. Moving pocket. Stafford throws it downfield. Drop! Johnson had it on his hands with 3 Colts defenders back there. Buffet, Butler, and Stafford unhappy as there's some jawing going on with Robert Mathis at the end of that play.
Well, he really took a shot as he lets this ball go. Mathis, 98. Coming up from the linebacker spot there is Foku. But how about the recovery by Darius Butler here? Getting back there just as the ball arrived to knock it down.
Second punt for Nick Harris. His second stint with Detroit was with him from 03 to 2010. That'll take a Detroit roll and settle in at the 27.5-yard line. Colts will get the football back after the 55-yard punt from Harris. Stafford, he got stamped by Foku. Stafford pops right up though. Expected a lot of offense. We've got it so far. 201 total yards for Detroit, 154 for Indianapolis. We've got 8:32 remaining in this first half here at Ford Field. 17-14, Detroit leading Indy. The Colts at 7-4. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. In those wins, they've given up just 69 points. Obviously, the one loss to New England where the Patriots were scoring at will. Meanwhile, the Lions have dropped 3 in a row. You look at their Thanksgiving performances, 9 straight losses on Thanksgiving. The jump by Vanden Bosch, free play for Luck, and a free hit at the quarterback. Intercepted, Stephen Tulloch. The 2 flags came down. Cliff Averill with the hit on Luck. Lions have the football, but it may only be for a moment.
Yeah, well, Luck saw Vanden Bosch jump off sides, so he's going to go through with the play. He's looking downfield, didn't see anything down there.
Defense number 93. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Yeah, he's about, this Vanden Bosch here on the far side of the defensive line, about 3 yards into the backfield there. See, Luck looking downfield. The pressure by Averill caused the interception, but obviously didn't count.
So 1st and 5 just across the 30-yard line. Empty backfield, shotgun formation for Luck. Motion man, the very dangerous T.Y. Hilton. They handle the rush. Intercepted! Drayton Florence! Out of bounds! Could not remain upright as a flag is thrown at the end of the play.
Yeah, it's going to be an illegal block in the back by Jacob Lacey. The interception's going to stand. The block may have prevented Luck from making the tackle.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Intercepting team number 21. 10-yard penalty. Detroit keeps the ball. First down.
So the Lions take over as Andrew Luck gets picked off in his own territory.
First pick of the year for Drayton Florence. And he read this slant route perfectly, got inside Hilton. Here's the illegal block there on Lacey. If he doesn't block Luck in the back, Florence may have gotten into the end zone.
Yeah, the block actually forced Luck into the body of Florence and knocked him a little bit off balance. Florence formerly with San Diego, Jacksonville, Buffalo. Second-round pick back in 2003. Luck, his 14th interception of the season. 11 of those have come on the road. Fake the handoff. Stafford over the middle. The ball popped loose. Pettigrew never had it. Incomplete. Bethea was looking to run it back, but it was never considered a clean catch for Pettigrew.
Now Stafford throws a fastball on this one to Pettigrew. Pettigrew, you see his hands are just a little bit out of kilter there, and Bethea comes in. Ball should have been caught, though. It's right on target. 4 straight incompletions for Stafford. 3 of them were catchable.
2nd and 10 now for Detroit. Running play. It's LaShore lowering the shoulder. 5-yard gain for LaShore to the 15-yard line. And Jarrell Freeman with the stop for Indianapolis. Well, here's the playoff picture right now in the NFC. Atlanta 11-1. San Francisco at 8-2-1. Green Bay, Seattle currently holding down the wild card spots, but look how many teams are jammed together in the hunt in the NFC right now.
One of those teams has got to win out, and one of those teams is staring us today. Right in front of us, the Lions need to win every game to have a chance to finish at 9-7.
3rd and 5. Stafford, low throw. Incomplete. Scheffler, the intended target. Now the field goal unit will come on with Jason Hansen.
Now this has to be considered a win for the Colts, keeping the Lions out of the end zone as we look at what the Lions have ahead of them.
At Green Bay, at Arizona, Atlanta, and Chicago to wrap up the season. That is a challenging schedule for Detroit. Entering action today at 4-7. They've proved they can match up with anybody in the league, but they just haven't been able to win consistently. Remember, this team was 5-0 last year, 9-14 record since that great start. 33-yard field goal is good for Jason Hansen. Lions lead it 20-14 with 7:17 to play. First half in Detroit. Tomorrow, to succeed in business, the girls will need some special help, especially when they have uninvited guests. A new Two Broke Girls. That's tomorrow only. CBS. Some young Lions fans on hand here at Ford Field with their team up 20-14, trying to maintain a positive attitude with this squad. So much promise, so much talent, and high expectations coming into the year. It's been a major disappointment considering what they did a year ago. Hansen kicking it off and booming it out of the back of the end zone. 4 for 4 on touchbacks. Andrew Luck, what have you seen so far, Dan?
Well, he's been poised in the pocket. That's no surprise. He hits Hilton there, and then the touchdown to Avery, the beautiful pass to Fleener in the corner of the end zone. But he is a rookie, and he does make a mistake here. Never really looked out to his receiver on the outside there. Hilton, Florence stepped in front of it, and lucky for the Colts, Florence didn't take it into the end zone.
6 INTs over his last 4 games. But they did limit the damage, holding Detroit to a field goal. They crowd the line. The quick slant. Avery can't catch it. Incomplete. Jacob Lacey in coverage. Saturday, it's all guts, all grit, all glory. As the Home Depot College Football on CBS presents Army-Navy. And it all begins with college football today at 2:30 Eastern right here on CBS. 2nd and 10 now for Indianapolis. Luck is 6 of 12, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Running play. Ballard runs into a wall. Sue involved in the stop, a loss of 4 on the play.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a lot of yardage up the middle against the Lions. This draw play just had absolutely nothing. Here is Sue right here, working against Mike McGlynn, goes right around McGlynn, and then Fairley right there as well, where Brown was trying to get to.
Now it's a 3rd and 14. No rushing yards for the Colts. From the gun, Luck in some trouble. Steps up, Luck hit again. Luck still on his feet, directing his player downfield. Incomplete. Trying to hit Dwayne Allen on that sideline route. Obviously, Detroit had everything covered downfield, so Luck had to go the extemporaneous route.
You just don't see Luck go down easy, do you? I mean, he's bouncing off defensive linemen here. He makes Sue miss there. Now he's going to bump into Fairley. Fairley only goes about 300 pounds. Luck gets away from him, and it's if he wasn't even there.
Punt from Pat McAfee. Stephon Logan standing at his own 37-yard line. This punt hits him right in the numbers at the 36. 48-yard punt from McAfee. And Ndamukong Suh, he asked Jim Schwartz about Sue. He said, look, it's life in the NFL. Sue's a high-profile guy. If you have thin skin, you're going to have to really play through that in this league. Another look at the play. What was your reaction? You saw it live. You've now seen it 475,000 times on replay.
Well, I think it's unfortunate, but I do think he was trying to make contact with Schaub. I don't think he was aiming for a particular area there. He's too good of an athlete, too intelligent, too aware where he's on the field to make anybody think that was a total accident.
Yeah, it's hard to get into intent. But you have to believe he knew Schaub was in that general vicinity. Just didn't know what body part he was aiming towards. Calvin Johnson in a matchup with Vontae Davis.
You know, the other thing about Sue is he's only had one penalty called on him this entire season.
That's right.
And that was for offsides.
5 yards.
Yeah. Now, I think they might have missed a few. In particular, that last one we just saw. But that is a fact. One penalty for 5 yards offsides.
We talked to Sue and asked him about all of the buzz. He said it's like living in a fishbowl. He's learned to live with it. You take the good with the bad. But when he's between those white lines, he said he's got a different mindset. He's got 10 guys on his side. He wants to make sure the QB has a miserable day. Calvin Johnson with a flag thrown. Brought down to the 49-yard line. Vontae Davis again drawing the coverage. 8-yard pickup for Stafford to Johnson.
I think he's going to draw the flag, too, because he was all over Johnson's back.
Defense number 23. Penalties decline. Result of the play, first down.
I mean, there's very few things you can do to stop number 81. Watch Vontae Davis slant route here. Just going to grab the left shoulder. But even that wasn't enough to prevent Johnson from reaching out far from his body to make the catch in his hands.
We spoke with Calvin Johnson. He said baseball was actually his first love. He played center field, started playing at the age of 5. He was drafted coming out of high school by the Cincinnati Reds, but wanted the college experience. Play fake. Stafford flings it up in the air. LaShore. Creative play. Stafford, that's where the arm angles can help. 13 yards on the catch. Matthew Stafford gets rid of the football.
And I don't think the Colts really want Robert Mathis in pass defense. They want him rushing the passer, but Mathis was in coverage this time. This is an unbelievable throw. What's wrong with his mechanics when they're all complete like this? Over the top of Mathis, right to LaShore on the sidelines.
So another first down for Detroit inside the 40. Running play, LaShore. Out across the 35-yard line. You know, so a lot of guys say, yeah, I played a different sport. This guy actually can show you the skills. Co-America Park, batting practice with the Tigers. Calvin Johnson, bang.
Well, that was kind of a hanger, though. Come on.
Whoa, you're criticizing the pitching?
You know what? The Tigers could have used him against the Giants in the World Series, couldn't they?
You just have to get your one little San Francisco Giant ticket. That's not going to be very popular with our viewers right now, Dan. But you're a lifelong Giants fan, along with our producer, Bob Monsbach. 2nd and 5 now for the Lions. Stafford, touch. And Johnson couldn't locate it, it appeared, with Darius Butler back there defensively for Indy.
Yeah, he already has 8 catches for 83 yards. And Stafford really laid this one up beautifully, but the coverage by Butler, pretty good. You can see the bracket coming over. Bethea a little bit late, yet, again, difficulty locating this ball. How about being on target for Stafford? Hit his receiver in the helmet.
Lions are in a little bit of no man's land here. This will be a very long attempt for Jason Hanson, facing now a 3rd and 5. Shotgun. Stafford, incomplete. Pettigrew, the intended receiver. They're looking at a 51-yard field goal attempt right now. Hanson does have a 53-yarder this season, and they're going to try it with the veteran Jason Hanson.
And in pregame warm-ups, Hanson didn't try anything longer than 53, so he's comfortable at 51.
Jason Hanson has been to the Pro Bowl twice, but the last one came in 1999.
He's only kicked, this will be his 592nd field goal of his career attempt.
From 51 yards away for Hanson. Hanson, he's got it, and then some. Jason Hanson, the 3rd all-time leading scorer in NFL history. Put another 3 on the board for Hanson and the Lions. Detroit extends the lead, 23-14 over the Colts. Coming up, Verizon Halftime Report. JB and Company, the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 3 field goals for Jason Hanson. That one officially goes down as a 52-yarder. And Detroit's in front 23-14 on the Colts. Hanson kicks it off. Big bounce there for Vaughn. Elects not to take it out of the end zone. Indianapolis will have it at the 20-yard line. Wednesday in primetime, JB, Chris Collinsworth, and Phil Sin showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. It's Inside the NFL, Wednesday on Showtime. Colts get it back, 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. Donald Brown is in, maybe looking for a little bit more speed to the outside because they have not been able to get any kind of penetration up the middle. 3 receivers set. Reggie Wayne. It's been quiet for Wayne so far. Throw it out to T.Y. Hilton. He turns the corner and veers out of bounds. 3:42 mark of the second quarter and a 4-yard pickup for Hilton. Well, here's where things stand for Indianapolis at 7-4. They've got a 1-game lead on Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, with Miami on the fringe as well. Catching up to Houston, not realistic, but making the playoffs. What a story that would be for this franchise.
Pittsburgh in tough against Baltimore. Cincinnati against San Diego. Desperate San Diego team this afternoon on the coast.
Luck straight back. Little flip for Brown. Brown with a spin move. Just short of the 30-yard line, and that means just short of a first down. Levy and Fairley collaborate to bring him down. Colts going no huddle right now. On 3rd and less than a yard. Luck trying to get over the pile. Flag is thrown on the far side.
And the Colts may not have been set properly. Luck trying to hurry his team to the line of scrimmage to get that quarterback sneak off. Lions were ready for it.
Offside. Defense number 98. Lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Results in a first down.
And it works against Nick Fairley. I'm not sure Luck got enough for the first down on his own without that penalty.
Here is Fairley. He's just lined up into the neutral zone there. His hand was over the line.
So this drive continues. 2:45 and counting left in the first half. Running play for Brown. Donald Brown finds a lane and stiff arms his way to the 42-yard line. Jacob Lacey, his former teammate, with a tackle. Coming up for the Indianapolis Colts, they've got Tennessee next week, then at Houston, at Kansas City, and then Houston again. So they have not even played the Texans yet this season. Brown cut to the outside. He turns it upfield for a new set of downs, just short of midfield. As the clock winds down now, we're approaching the 2-minute warning.
And the interesting thing about them playing Houston, as they are twice in 14 days, is that Houston may not have anything to play for at that point.
Yeah, good point. 2 minutes to play in this first half. Detroit holding on to a 23-14 advantage on Indianapolis. Colts trailing the Detroit Lions 23-14. Indianapolis, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. Interaction at 7-4. And really what's been amazing, Dan, how they've performed in close games for a young team, one of the youngest teams in the league. They're 6-1 in one-possession games decided by 8 points or less. First down from the 49-yard line, 2 minutes to work with. Luck steps up, almost lost his footing, throws on the move, intercepted, picked off. Don Carey's got it for Detroit, out of bounds. Second interception of the day for Andrew Luck.
Yeah, and this is a big mistake by Andrew Luck. He had no chance of getting this ball completed down the field. Carey was just playing in a deep zone defense. Luck is going to do a good job of getting away from pressure here, stepping up into the pocket there, and then Carey just playing center field there, comes over from his safety spot, Trying to get the ball to Brazil down the sidelines, but way underthrown. Easy pick.
Injury update, by the way. Joe writes it is a concussion. That's why Linkenbach is in there. So Detroit now with a chance to put more points on the board before we hit the break. 1:50 to go. Joique Bell, the running back. Bell, the stutter step move. Lowers the helmet and gains 6 yards on the play. Good block on that left side from Rob Sims for the Lions.
Luck is 8 of 16. He's hit 7 different receivers and 2 different defenders.
2nd and 4 now for Detroit. Stafford. He's got Scheffler. They are in Indianapolis territory. Line of scrimmage is going to be just short of the 40-yard line. 11-yard pickup.
Boy, and Scheffler's slow to get up. In fact, he's going back down.
And they'll stop play here with 1:10 to go. Check on Scheffler. 23-14 Detroit. Coming up, Verizon Halftime Report. We'll check in with JB and the rest of the crew. Scores, highlights around the NFL. It's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
Now, it looked like Tony Scheffler gets hit in the side of the helmet by Moses Foucault right there. That's a legal shot, although it's helmet to helmet. Scheffler is not a defenseless player at the time. He made the catch and was running up the field when contact was made. Scheffler being checked out on the sidelines, perhaps giving a concussion test there by the medical staff. Yeah, that's a bell ringer there.
Veteran out of Western Michigan, now in his 7th year, formerly with Denver, acquired in a trade in 2010. Intercepted. Stafford threw it right to Robert Mathis of the Colts.
And that is Mathis' first career interception. We saw him trying to cover LaShore earlier when Stafford made an unbelievable throw. But how about Mathis dropping back into coverage here? Fakes the pass rush and then is all over the tight end Pettigrew. Fantastic play by Robert Mathis. Here's Pettigrew on his little out route, about a 5-yard route, but that's where Stafford never saw number 98.
And a missed opportunity here for Detroit. Mathis, the first interception of his 10-year career, the 4-time Pro Bowler. First down for Indy, just over a minute to go now. Luck did not have enough on it as he was dumped on the play, looking for Reggie Wayne. Three timeouts left for Detroit, 3 timeouts left for Indy. No, the one was taken away from Detroit on the injury to Scheffler, so 2 timeouts for the Lions. Wayne, 1 catch, 6 yards, came in leading the NFL in receptions. And there's Wayne, his 2nd catch. That 4th down. Wayne pops up.
Boy, he relaxed along that sideline, and his former teammate, Jacob Lacey, just drilled him. Never relax until you're totally out of bounds. Here's a 12-year veteran, Wayne, thinking he's going to get a free pass to the sidelines, and Lacey said,
Reggie Wayne said this Colts team, although they're young, they're very hungry, and that's what you hope for as a veteran. At the end of training camp, he really felt like the team had a chance to be very good. I don't know if he expected this. Luck, too high for Hilton. It's 4th down. And the punter will come on, Pat McAfee.
Yeah, good decision by Bruce Arians to punt this ball away. Detroit has 2 timeouts, a lot of time to work with here. Don't want to risk not making this first down at the 45-yard line.
Now Bruce Arians, 6-2 this season, stepping in for Chuck Pagano, who is battling leukemia. And Arians has pushed all the right buttons. McAfee the punt. Logan, fair catch at the 10. 45-yard punt for McAfee.
Yeah, we just saw Jason Hansen hit a 52-yarder, so well within his range. And that 52-yarder hit way deep and up high on the net behind the goalpost.
Well, had the 53-yarder week 3 in a loss to Tennessee, so the range is still there for Jason Hansen. You know, they had a contest before the game where a fan comes out and kicks the ball. Who was alongside the fan?
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray, the longtime kicker for the Lions. So just think about how many years they've had covered between two guys.
And they've always kicked indoors at home.
Yeah.
Especially in this division.
On a handoff for Joyce Bell. Turns it upfield for a 3-yard gain. We're down to 35 seconds left. Looks like the Lions will go completely conservative here and not force anything. Stafford getting instructions.
They're not going to have to run another play because the game clock is about a second ahead of the play clock.
Indianapolis could have called timeouts and forced Detroit into some decisions. They've elected not to. And that's it. First half complete. Detroit 23, Indianapolis 14. The Lions at 4-7 trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. Meanwhile, Indianapolis trying to keep their hot streak alive. They've won 5 of their last 6. Detroit 256 yards of offense in that first half. They've got a 23-14 advantage on Indy. Verizon halftime report is coming up after this. Getting ready for second half action here at Ford Field. Detroit leading Indianapolis 23-14. You're listening to a Pepsi NFL anthem. Download this song and other NFL-inspired anthems at PepsiAnthems.com. Look at the halftime numbers here in Detroit. 256 yards of offense for the Lions, 181 for Indianapolis. Colts turned it over twice, 2 Andrew Luck interceptions. But Stafford threw a pick late in that second quarter. Time of possession is dominant in favor of Detroit. We welcome you back to the broadcast booth. Ian Eagle along with Hall of Famer Dan Fouts. Well, we knew Detroit could play with anybody in the NFL. They basically said that in the meetings. Can they beat anybody in the NFL? That's really the next question. And a big test now in this second half. We'll see how Andrew Luck holds up against this Detroit defense.
Yeah, he made a couple of sloppy plays in that first half with the interceptions, misreading and then misjudging a pass down the field. But where he has been so successful this year has been in pressure situations. Down by 9 now, with the offense that they have and the defense that the Lions have, Luck can get back into this, but he can't afford to turn the ball over anymore because the Lions, they're a desperate team. They have got to win today, and they got to win out to have any hope at all getting into the playoffs.
Just 1 sack for this Detroit defense. It was Ndamukong Suh, and it was early, but they have put pressure on Luck. And part of the scouting report now on Luck is that he won't go down on first contact, and he will step up and make some risky decisions in the pocket.
Well, that's where his sacks have come from and his fumbles. He has fumbled 4 times on the road, and they've been strip sacks. So that's something he's got to be careful of. And his offensive lineman, remember, he lost in that first half to a concussion. Joe Wrights, that left guard. So that's the guy that is responsible for blocking Nick Fairley. Fairley's had a good afternoon along with Sue, pressuring Luck right up the middle.
Injury for Detroit. Ryan Broyles, the rookie receiver out of Oklahoma, left with knee trouble. Hansen to kick it off. And Broyles is out for the rest of the day. Cassius Vaughn will take another knee for Indianapolis. They'll have it at the 20-yard line to start out this second half. First half possessions for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, you can see that the 80-yarder, that was that long bomb on a third down that Luck completed to T.Y. Hilton. But a lot of punts there. Last 4 possessions, not good for the Colts.
Colts have actually been outscored by 43 points this season entering action today. Only 5 teams in NFL history have won at least 10 games while getting outscored over the course of a year. On first down, running play to Ballard. Vic Ballard bulldozing for a gain of 3. Vanden Bosch with a stop for Detroit.
That's exactly what the Colts need to do, is to get some type of running game going. We looked at those halftime stats, and it was just pitiful, the rushing attack for Indianapolis in that first half.
Indy comes in number 17 in the NFL in rushing offense, 108 yards per game. Number 7 in passing, nearly 278 yards a game through the air. 2nd and 7. It's Ballard. Vic Ballard, first time he's been able to take it to the second level. Nice block by Costanzo to help spring Ballard for 13.
Yeah, Costanzo working over here. Watch as he comes down on Fairley. Great vision that time by Ballard to see the cutback and get up the field.
They have not been a dynamic running team by any stretch. Their longest gain on the ground this year is 26 yards, and it came from Ballard. 1st and 10, just across the 35-yard line, first possession of the second half. Indianapolis down by 9. Luck, timing pattern. He drops it in the bucket to Donnie Avery. And a flag thrown at the 27-yard line. In a matchup with Chris Houston, who's having an excellent season at that corner spot.
I think they're going to get Houston for grabbing Avery just as the ball, before the ball got there. Never looked back to the ball. Beautiful catch.
Defense number 23. Penalties declined. Result of play, first down.
Yeah, the single coverage that Luck saw, but this ball perfectly thrown over the outside shoulder, and Avery did a good job of giving Luck room along that sideline.
Boy, that ball was moving at the end, and that's what Houston was trying to indicate to the officials. Avery did a tremendous job to haul it in, but there might have been movement right at the end of the play.
And why the coaches upstairs didn't see that and called down to Schwartz to challenge that, but maybe Schwartz a little gun shy to throw the red flag.
Take a look right here.
Oh, that ball's out. Incomplete pass, that one unchallenged by Schwartz.
That is outstanding camera work.
Yeah, there was pass interference on the play, so it wouldn't have mattered.
2nd and 3. Up the middle, Sue. 5-yard gain for Ballard. How about what happened with Jim Schwartz last week?
Now this is Ndamukong Suh in the first half. Early in the game, like the second play of the game, he gets in on Luck and drops him for a sack. That's just his 5th and a half sack of the season. But he always has to be accounted for.
1st and 10, just outside the 10-yard line. Schwartz, that emotional reaction to the non-call on Forsett last week, threw the challenge flag. Forsett's play would have been reviewed automatically on the touchdown, but as we know, the league right now cracking down on these kinds of situations where a coach will throw the flag, even if they're not allowed to throw the flag. The 15-yard penalty, and really the bigger issue, now the play is not reviewable, and that's the area where the league is going to have to go back and redo that rule.
They ought to talk to those officials too. How could they not see an elbow and a knee down on the ground?
2nd and 10 now for Indianapolis. Ballard. Vic Ballard weaves his way through traffic for the touchdown. Indianapolis. Strong statement to open up this second half. Louis Delmas could not bring him down, and Ballard made him pay. Vic Ballard, his first career rushing touchdown in the NFL.
Well, he got great blocks from his center, Samson Sattelli and Mike McGlynn. Here's Sattelli and here's McGlynn. And then the vision breaks the tackle of Delmas there, sidesteps him, and goes in standing up.
Adam Vinatieri, he cuts the Detroit lead to 2. 12:05 mark of the third quarter. Indy comes out like a ball on fire in the second half. Seven plays, 80 yards. Ballard caps it off with an 11-yard touchdown run, the first rushing touchdown of his career. 38 rushing yards on the drive. They had just 14 in the entire first half. And the Colts kick it off with Pat McAfee. Logan takes a knee. Lions will have it at the 20-yard line. Nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Break down all the NFL action on NFL Monday QB. That's tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Oh, Dan Fouts. He'll be part of the panel tomorrow on CBS Sports Network.
And I won't be wearing a tie.
Really?
No.
Yeah, you've already decided your wardrobe choice for tomorrow.
I just wear them when I work with you, my friend.
Yeah, but you loosen it during the game. I find that. You don't stick with the tight.
I've choked too many times on Sunday afternoon. Are you kidding me?
That's not even fair to yourself in your self-deprecating style. Stafford to Calvin Johnson. So they keep feeding the ball to Johnson. Antoine Bethea there. It's an 8.5, 9-yard gain, depending on the spot.
9 catches now for Calvin Johnson, and way too much room given by Antoine Bethea. I think they gave Johnson a bad mark there. He stretched out, almost got the ball to the 30-yard line.
Riley Reif is on as an extra offensive lineman. Remember, Scheffler went down with an injury late stages of that first half, an obvious head injury. Stafford calls a timeout, so we'll step aside. Lions lead is suddenly down to 2.
Well, the Lions just had 10 men on the field here. This is what happens when you have injuries to your tight end. Scheffler going down. Didn't have enough men on the line of scrimmage.
I think he just added an extra number, though. It was 10. There was no one at the top of the screen. On a handoff right up the middle to LaShore. And LaShore's got enough for a first down across the 30-yard line as a 4-yard pickup. Brian Broyles left the game with a knee injury. Titus Young, Brian Robisky, both inactive today. Young has been going through a bit of a rough patch with this team, and his future very much in doubt as a member of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, Scheffler's on the sideline with his helmet on. He appears to be ready to go back in the game. He's standing alongside Pettigrew.
Young did return to practice on Wednesday, but it appears he's worn out his welcome here in Detroit. Stafford, dump it off to LaShore. Juke move for a 3-yard gain.
And the Lions giving the Colts the heavy run look with the extra offensive lineman in the game. Just a 2-man route, and then LaShore sneaking out of the backfield. But the Colts didn't pay any attention to the run fake. Neither team running the ball very effectively, so play-action passing may not work today.
So now a 2nd and 7 for Detroit. Just over 10 minutes to go in this third quarter. Lions lead at 23-21. Lions also lost wide receiver Nate Burleson to a broken leg back in week 7. Nice hit, catch made by Bell. Vontae Davis got him down low, limiting him to a 3-yard pickup. Now a 3rd and 4 for the Lions. Scheffler does return.
Lions just 3 of 8 converting third downs this afternoon.
Will Heller goes off for Detroit. Scheffler sets up in the slot on a 3rd and 4. Play clock down to 2. Stafford from the gun. He hits Johnson for a first down. Into Colts territory. Cassius Vaughn back in coverage for Indy.
Yeah, he runs such precise routes, and he's worked so often with Matthew Stafford. See the hook and then a fade to the outside. Good for 13 and a first down.
Calvin Johnson, 5th straight game with 100 receiving yards. He now has gone for 105 on 10 catches. He's had 4 straight games leading into this one over 125. New set of downs for Detroit. LaShore tried to run laterally, and Moses Foku makes the stop. Yard and a half gain.
You know, Calvin Johnson's battled through a knee injury this year and a thumb injury, but he appears to be unstoppable. It's almost as if you could throw him the ball on every play. Of course, that would wear him out, but it would sure be fun trying.
Second and long for Detroit. We hit 8 minutes to play in the third. LaShore remains in the backfield. Stafford looks downfield. Broken up. Pettigrew with Cavell Connor. Now this linebacking core for Indianapolis, obviously they made some changes schematically, and Jarrell Freeman comes over from the CFL, an absolute revelation for the Indianapolis Colts. He's been a tackling machine. GM Ryan Grigson's first transaction when he took over.
Now watch the sacking machine. Dwight Freeney get around Jeff Backus here. He's going to hit Stafford right in the back. Stafford a little slow getting up after that hit.
Detroit has dominated time of possession, but Indy has had those quick scores. Mike Thomas, heavy-duty traffic. They were hoping for a little bit of room and space to work in, and it never developed. Indianapolis was ready with Vontae Davis.
And the trouble with this play for a wide receiver is that sometimes you turn to the inside, and that's bad because that's where the big guys are. Watch Freeney, number 93, come in here and just clean up on Mike Thomas.
Nick Harris, the punt. T.Y. Hilton waiting for it. Harris trying to drop it inside the 5. And it bounces into the end zone. John Wendling was back there on special teams, but couldn't get a handle on it. 47-yard punt, a net of 27. And now Andrew Luck and the Colts have the football with a chance to grab the lead in Detroit. First touchback of the season for Nick Harris. That's saying something as we're in week 13 of the NFL year. Indianapolis takes over their first and 10 at the 20-yard line. They trail 23-21, and that play never gets off. Flags thrown on both sides of the field. Bill Vinovich will fill us in.
Ball start. Offense number 74. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's Costanzo.
It's been a rough afternoon for Reggie Wayne. Just 2 catches for 14 yards. With good coverage in the secondary. Linebackers Tulloch taking care of him that time. But they've got to find a way to get the ball to Reggie Wayne.
Big difference this year. He's been lining up on either side, which was not the case in prior years with Peyton Manning running this offense. Handoff. Donald Brown is buried. And Ndamukong Suh in on the stop for Detroit.
You almost anticipated Suh slam dunking Donald Brown there, but maybe he's learned his lesson a little bit. Check out number 90 here as he gets double teamed, beats the double team, makes the tackle. And now right about here, he's thinking about putting Brown on his back. Eased up, though. Smart play.
2nd and 16 now for Indy. Crowd here at Ford Field is into it. Luck, the throw to Hilton. Hilton brought down at the 24, and it brings up 3rd and just a shade under 6 yards for the first down.
And you would expect Reggie Wayne to get a lot of attention. I mean, he's the leading receiver coming into today's game with 84. But it appears there are times when Luck is not having any luck finding him in the secondary.
Andrew Luck, 50% completion rate, 11 of 22, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Luck on a 3rd and 5. Luck finds the open man. It's Hilton, but he was out of bounds. 4th down for Indianapolis.
Well, let's take a look at this. Boy, his big toe was just out of bounds. He did a good job of dragging the right foot, but left foot just on the line.
Bruce Arians may want the official to take a look.
Yeah, he has thrown the flag.
with an even 6 minutes to play in the third. Can make out the words Bruce Arians saying both feet in.
Indianapolis is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass. Timeout.
Now they're going to see every angle we've got. The question is it enough for them to determine that he was in bounds on the play? We'll step aside.
Here's the angle that the officials are looking at right here. And it appears as just a toenail. Big toe. Just out of bounds.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. Fourth down.
So Indianapolis will lose the timeout. Bruce Arians rolling the dice. He thought he had it. He thought...
Yeah, it was right in front of him, so he had a good look at it. Problem was, not enough good camera angles to show us anything but the fact that he was out of bounds.
Fourth down, McAfee to punt it. Stephon Logan avoids it initially, and Logan dives across the 40-yard line. A 45-yard punt and an 11-yard return.
Well, Andre Luck puts the ball in the money, but it is a game of inches. Hilton just out of bounds.
Get coverage of every game while on the go this holiday season with NFL Mobile. Watch every touchdown from Sunday afternoon games with NFL Red Zone for $5 a month. Call ** NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile. Lions take over 1st and 10 at their own 42-yard line. 5:50 to play in the third quarter. Fake the handoff. Stafford throwing. Incomplete. Mike Thomas, the intended receiver, Cassius Vaughn with the coverage. Don't forget, coming up next, the NFL on CBS continues. The Steelers battle the Ravens. The Bengals tangle with the Chargers, or the Browns take on the Raiders. Second half of our NFL on CBS doubleheader is coming up. 23-21 here with Detroit in front of Indianapolis. Matthew Stafford on the day, 22 of 35, 239 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Fake the give to Logan instead. It's Bell. So a 3-yard pass play. Johnson in on the tackle along with Foku. And brings up third down for Detroit.
Yeah, trying to fool the Colts with the action there with the end around fake and then dumping the ball quickly up the middle. And Colts were just waiting for it. They weren't rushing the passer at all.
Third and 7 for the Lions. We come up on 5 minutes to go. Third quarter. Colts crowd the line. Shotgun, Stafford. Incomplete. Calvin Johnson thought he was held by Vaughn. And Stafford is pointing it out to Bill Vinovich.
Bill Vinovich said, no way. That clearly was some type of contact out there. Vaughn is number 32. And ball thrown to the outside, perhaps deemed to be uncatchable. Good coverage by Vaughn.
And a very quiet 3 and out for the Detroit offense. Another punt for Harris. T.Y. Hilton slips down, and John Wendling played a role getting back there. 43-yard punt, a 2-yard return. Injured Colt on the play. Justin Hickman. First year out of UCLA, playing special teams, formerly of the CFL. GM Ryan Grigson finding talent from everywhere to improve this squad. And Hickman on his back as the medical staff comes out.
He definitely has a leg injury, and it appeared as he was covering this punt. Here he is right here. Watch him pull up right there and perhaps pulled his hamstring.
So Hickman now limping over to the Indianapolis sideline. Colts offense is on the field after the punt. We still have 4:50 to go in this third quarter in a tight game between the Colts and the Lions. First and 10, just short of the 15-yard line. Hilton goes in motion, set up the wide receiver screen for him. Hilton on the outside. Picks up 4 yards as we go to New York. NFL Today update, JB and Boomer.
Cutler and Forte.
Forte lined up as a wide receiver at the bottom of the screen. Slant pattern. Down at the 1-yard line. Lovie Smith asks for a replay. He gets it. Touchdown Bears. They take the lead on the Seahawks 14-10.
Ian and Dan.
Chicago Bears is quietly going about their business. A different team, of course, when Jay Cutler's in there. Luck. Knocked up in the air. Incomplete. Again, pressure that Luck was dealing with. Sammy Hill among those there for Detroit.
Yep, Sammy Hill got his right hand on this ball. Hill goes about 6'4". Watch him right here. Defensive tackles have been very productive today for the Lions. Hill gets into the act. Fairley's been strong, as has Sue.
3rd and 6. Luck is now under 50%. Throwing the ball. From the gun. They handle the rush initially. Luck checks it down. Incomplete to Ballard. He bounced it at the feet of Vic Ballard. The Colts 3 and out.
Yeah, this pass rush, just a 4-man pass rush, so the Lions can drop 7 in coverage. And Luck looking around desperately, can't find anybody as he knows that pressure's coming. Fairley forces him out of the pocket to his outlet receiver.
4th down, McAfee again. Lions should have good field position. Logan from the 33. Slowed down to the 35 and works his way on the outside.
Boy, that should draw a flag. No flag coming, no. Logan was way out of bounds when he got hit right in front of the Lion bench. Well, the fans were throwing their flags.
49-yard punt, a 9-yard return. Overton, the snapper, was over there.
Good job of Logan just getting down the sidelines. Now he's going to get forced out of bounds here. Watch 45 come in. Oh, that's ridiculous. He's well on the white. And no flag.
So in the line of scrimmage will be the 42. Indianapolis avoided a penalty there, as Overton did have the late hit when Logan was already on the white. On a pitch. LaShore picks his way to the 46-yard line. Hit down low by Antoine Bethea. 4-yard gain. Wednesday on CBS, LL Cool J and Taylor Swift host the Grammy nominations concert. Live performances from music's biggest stars. That's Wednesday, only CBS. We're here at Ford Field. Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, the rest of our CBS crew. The Lions, 4-7, disappointing season. Trying to finish strong over the final stretch, and still with some faint playoff hopes in the NFC. Stacked up, LaShore took a wallop from Angerer.
Well, Angerer did a great job along with Martin Tavasu. They just plugged everything up right in the middle there. Angerer getting into the backfield. This is a handoff was made.
It is a hamstring injury for Hickman. He will not return for Indianapolis. Lions had 256 yards in the first half. They had 39 here in the third quarter. 2:34 to go. 3rd and 7. Stafford pulls the trigger and connects with Calvin Johnson. First down across the 45 into Indy territory.
Well, you can't triple team a guy, I don't think. But it might not be a bad idea on 3rd down. You can see the power that he has as he just pushes Vaughn back. Timing is perfect with Stafford. Another catch for Megatron, 11 now for 116 yards.
Physically dominant. Any kind of jump ball, he wins.
No question. He wins a lot of low balls, too.
Career high is 12 catches in a game. Stafford lost the ball. And this play is busted. Loss of a couple of yards on the play.
That's the third fumble of the season for Stafford. He's only lost one, though. In fact, he just pulled out a little bit too soon from his center, Dominic Raiola.
Down to a minute 25 to play in the third quarter. Detroit holding on to a 23-21 lead on Indianapolis. Now a 2nd and 12 for the Lions.
False start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Gosder Sherrillis.
You know, Ian, you talked about how poor the Lions have been on offense. I mean, this whole place has gotten so quiet here. Every once in a while, they'll complete a pass to Calvin Johnson. Everybody gets excited, but this place is dead.
Yeah, there were turnovers in the first half, but I wouldn't say that it was a sloppy first half. This third quarter, there's just been no flow whatsoever, really, for either team. Indianapolis did get the touchdown, but sustaining drives has been a challenge. Under a minute to go now in the third. 2nd and 17. Stafford, the sidearm delivery to Heller. Will Heller hit on the play by Jarrell Freeman. 5-yard gain for Heller. 5th catch of the year for the 10-year pro. So it brings up 3rd and long now for Detroit.
And part of the fact that the Lions are playing so poorly, they're only 5 of 12 on these third downs, and this is a difficult one at 3rd and 12, but I think I might double team number 81, don't you think, right down here? There he is. Look how far off Vontae Davis is playing, too.
3rd and 12. Stafford looking in that direction. Now looks to the other side. Stafford, downfield throw! Dug out by Johnson! Touchdown, Detroit! Spectacular!
Well, they had double coverage on him at the beginning, but he just kept going. And Stafford bought time by rolling out, looked up way down the field. And again, the way these two work so well together, that ball was thrown on a line for about 50 yards by Stafford. Spectacular sliding catch, and he rolls over into the end zone.
He is at a different level. He has matched his career high with 12 catches. He has 163 yards. That is 5 straight games for Calvin Johnson. Over 125. And a flag thrown on the extra point from Hansen.
Offside. Defense number 35. 5-yard penalty on the kickoff. Extra point is good.
Calvin Johnson had been catching a lot of short, intermediate passes today, and I think that's what the Colts were looking at on this play. He needs to go to here for the first down. Watch how the secondary kind of just settles here as Stafford buys time. Johnson just keeps going. Stafford looks up, and look at this laser shot by Stafford. That ball didn't get more than 10 feet off the ground, it seemed like. But this is, look at that stride as he pulls away from Vontae Davis. Picks up the ball, goes down low, and rolls over and scores. If there's a better receiver in the NFL playing right now, I'd like to know who it is, because I think I know it's number 81.
Calvin Johnson. They signed him to an 8-year, $132 million deal.
That's a good deal for the Lions.
He has tied an NFL record, 5th straight game with 125 or more receiving yards. Matching the mark of Pat Studstill.
Another great Detroit Lions wide receiver.
30-21, and most importantly, it creates a little bit of space between the Lions and the Colts, who had cut it to 2. Hansen kicks it off and kicks it right through the back of the end zone. 7 for 7 on kickoffs and touchbacks. What a weapon. Here, Matthew Stafford, you come into this league and you've got that guy on your team.
Another third down play that Johnson converts in the big time.
Stafford, by the way, is over 300 yards now. 305. 2 touchdowns. Final play of the third. It's Luck underneath the curl. T.Y. Hilton. Boy, he could be a difference maker for this Colts team. End of the third quarter. 7-yard gain. 30-21. Detroit. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. A late jolt in that third quarter from Detroit gives the Lions a 30-21 lead over Indianapolis as we start play here in the fourth quarter. Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, rest of our CBS crew. 2nd and 3 for Indianapolis, and a gift for Brown. Donald Brown's got a first down and almost was able to bust it to the clear. Linkenbach and Dwayne Allen with blocks on that right side.
And Don Carey with a real good tackle. Brown's got outstanding speed, and if he gets by Carey, who knows how far he might go.
First and 10 for Indianapolis, just shy of the 35-yard line. They trail Detroit by 9. Play fake. Luck steps. Luck fires one-on-one. Incomplete. Second defender came ranging over on T.Y. Hilton. Chris Houston had the man coverage. And then the help came in the form of Silva.
It looked like Luck was just a little bit hurried on this play by the pressure coming around his blind side. He had just an instant more. He might have been able to put this ball closer to the receiver.
2nd and 10 for Indianapolis. Luck is 13 of 28, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dime package here for Detroit. Brown waited, and Drayton Florence blew up the play. A loss of 4.
There's just not anything working well for the Colts with the running attack. Little sprint draw here. Looked like Brown did not want to go up inside, and Florence waiting for him on the outside, but it appeared that if he takes it inside, there was a gap there. As it was, he loses yardage.
Brown has been held to 12 yards on the ground, 6 carries. This is a 3rd and 14 now for Indianapolis. Shotgun. Luck. Doesn't get there. Dwayne Allen, the intended receiver. Lions able to put a little bit of pressure on Luck. Indy will punt.
Yeah, and he's starting to feel the pressure because that time he didn't really have anybody pressing him in the pocket, but he didn't have anything down the field plus that past that 14 yards he needed. So Allen would have been way short of the first down if that ball had been catchable.
Pat McAfee will punt it. Stephon Logan waiting at the 21. High punt. Logan fair catch called for, and he brings it in just short of the 25-yard line. 44-yard punt, no return. The electrifying Megatron, Calvin Johnson. All the talent's been on display. (30-21) Lions leading the Colts. Meeting of the minds along the sideline with Clyde Christensen, quarterback's coach, backup quarterback Drew Stanton, formerly of the Detroit Lions and a Michigan native, and then Bruce Arians, interim head coach and offensive coordinator, came over to give his 2 cents as well. Right now, Detroit's got the 9-point lead and the football. Handoff to LaShore, stiff arm, but he's brought down from behind by Cavell Connor. No gain on the play. Coming up, time permitting, after the game, it's the NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance. Join JB and company, the latest scores and highlights.
Yeah, it's a good tackle, but is it good illegal tackle by Connor as he went right to the back of the shoulder pad. That's a horse collar tackle.
He might have gotten him by the hair. That's allowed.
That is allowed. Painful, but allowed.
Yeah. 2nd and 10 for Detroit. Look at the time of possession in favor of the Lions. A BB from Stafford to Calvin Johnson. And that is a new career high in catches in a single game for Calvin Johnson. 13.
And they're not really tricky patterns either, are there? It's about 5 or 6 slant routes he's caught today, where he just uses his size to get inside the corner and just shield a defender away from the ball.
Dan, you're a guy when you were with the Chargers. You'd go with the hot hand. You'd keep feeding the hot hand if need be.
This hand is sizzling.
Yeah.
I mean, Stafford may throw the ball 70 times today, and Johnson may catch 30.
3rd and 2. Stafford, deep ball over the head of Calvin Johnson. In a matchup with Vontae Davis, and it's 4th down. Well, the numbers that Calvin Johnson is chasing. 1995, 1,848 yards. He is now 420 yards behind with 4 games to play.
And the average comes out to about 105 yards per game for Calvin Johnson. At this point, it's almost a lot.
Harris punts. T.Y. Hilton backpedals. Fair catch called for, so they will have it at the 23. Give some credit to the Colts defense there, stopping Detroit, getting the football back. Down by 9. In the holiday spirit here in Detroit with the Lions in front 30-21, 11:44 to play. In the 4th quarter, Colts have the football 1st and 10 at their own 24-yard line. Colts 5-1 at home this season, 2-3 on the road. They've given up 158 points in 5 road games coming into this one. Reggie Wayne, the intended receiver, he thought he was held. Drayton Florence, the coverage for the Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be a little crossing route, but Florence does a super job of anticipating the in-cut. Wayne thought he had his hand on his back, and that affected Wayne's ability to catch the ball. I think Florence got away with a little PI there.
2 catches, 14 yards for Reggie Wayne. He's been held in check. Operating out of the gun. Ball knocked free. Cliff Averill got it, and Luck with a heads-up play to cover it up.
Yeah, that'll be a sack for Averill and a forced fumble. 7th time in his career he's been able to do this, and he blows by Winston Justice. Luck heads up to get on that ball before Sue could get to it.
Coming off the edge, Averill 8.5 sacks now this season. 2nd forced fumble. Third and 22. Luck. Deep ball. Nobody home. LaVon Brazil with Chris Houston back there. NFL Today update. Let's go to JB and Boomer.
Boomer, you need room for this one.
Well, this is something that Dan Fouts and I never attempted. That's a pitch on an option. How about this? Janoris Jenkins going to fall on this. This is going to go in for a touchdown. 2-point conversion was good. Remember, Jenkins had 2 interceptions returned last week for touchdowns. 10-10, Rams 49ers.
And Fouts' reply is, I am.
All right, JB, Boomer, thank you. 30-21 here. Detroit in front of Indy. Under 11 minutes to play in the 4th. Stephon Logan with a fair catch called for. 59-yard punt. Luck, he's looked like a rookie at times here today. 30-21, Detroit leading Indianapolis. Frustrating day for the offense. And Andrew Luck, 13 of 31, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Hasn't been sacked all that often. It's just been a constant pressure from the front four of the Lions that made him uncomfortable.
10:50 to play. Running play to Joyke Bell. Nothing there. Flag down. Robert Mathis with the stop.
Holding. Offense number 67. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
And it's Rob Sims called on the hold. There was a loss of 2 on the play. They accept the penalty, though, and back it up with a 1st and 20.
I feel a lack of killer instinct from these Lions. Here they are up by 9. Their defense is playing very well. But offensively, if it wasn't for Calvin Johnson, they wouldn't be making anything.
Third penalty, 3 against Indy. Piling up. Big run. Joyke Bell. Brought down by Vaughn. Sims pulled. And Bell able to follow for a 67-yard rip.
Now here's the killer instinct, if you will. Bell with a career-long run. It's a draw play. Watch as he hits this hole right here. And the Colts out of position here. Darrell Freeman misses a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Bell keeps his balance there, and Vaughn finally gets him down.
By far the longest run of the season for Detroit. 1st and 10 inside the 15. Stafford. Incomplete. Calvin Johnson, the intended target. Cassius Vaughn back there, and Johnson may need to come off.
That ball thrown just a bit behind Johnson, and Vaughn, with a good job of recognizing where the ball was, just pulls Johnson's hands apart and the ball hits the ground.
And Johnson asked for someone to step in for him. It's Kasim Osgood, as the Lions are testing their depth at wide receiver. 2nd and 10. Handoff to Bell. And he's dumped by Redding. No gain on the play.
Now you wonder about Calvin Johnson and making that catch, trying to. Remember, he had a bad thumb earlier in the year, and you wonder with the contact there from Vaughn and the ball coming in, and then the second hit coming in by LaFege. Johnson, though, right back into the huddle.
This was during the previous play. Might be pointing towards his ribs on the shot.
May just be winded. He
maybe could be tired. Yeah,
busy day.
13 catches, 171 yards, and a touchdown. 3rd down. Stafford out of the pocket. Chase from behind. Stafford incomplete. Threw in the direction of Kevin Smith. Dwight Freeney put the heat on Matthew Stafford, and now the field goal unit will come on, trying to add to the Detroit lead. 8:45 left. 31-yard field goal for Jason Hanson.
But again, the Lions get that long run from Bell, and then afterwards it's 3 plays and bring out the field goal kicker. If successful field goal here will keep it a 2-score game, 12-point difference.
Harris will hold it. Muehlbach to snap it. And a 31-yarder is good. 33-21. Training staff having a little chat with Calvin Johnson. Back in Detroit, 33-21. The Lions leading the Colts, 8:41 to play. Detroit will kick it off with Jason Hanson, and a change has been made on the return. Joe LaFege is the deep man now for Indy. It had been Cassius Vaughn, and Vaughn was not taking it out of the end zone. Let's see if LaFege will. He will not. LaFege takes a knee. Colts will have it at the 20. Second half of our NFL on CBS doubleheader is coming up. Big one. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Also, San Diego hosting Cincinnati. Cleveland visiting Oakland. All coming up. The NFL on CBS. Look at the division leaders with Houston, Baltimore, New England, and Denver all have an opportunity to clinch today. Indianapolis currently holding down the number 5 seed in the AFC, but they're in a 12-point hole against Detroit. Luck on first down. In stride, he hits Reggie Wayne on the slant. That's a first down throw to the 31-yard line.
And you see that the Colts are not going to waste any time going back in the huddle. This is good strategy by Bruce Arians. Once the officials get the ball spotted, Luck can get things rolling again.
Luck hits his man, T.Y. Hilton. Moving quickly here, decisive. Another first down. That one covers 13 yards. Hilton now has cracked the 100-yard mark. That is his 4th 100-yard game of its rookie season. 3rd-round pick out of FIU. Luck, pump and throw. Nick Ballard with the catch for 6 yards. Justin Durant with the tackle. Indianapolis moving with a sense of urgency here. They trailed 33-21.
That was a good catch by Ballard that time. He knew that trouble was coming after he made the catch, but he hung on tough.
Playing without Joe White on that left side. Suffered a concussion early. Luck throws a good ball out to Donnie Avery. And they'll move the chains again. That's a 10-yard pickup.
4 straight completions for Andrew Luck.
Almost running the 2-minute drill here.
Well, it's smart because you don't have a whole lot of time to waste, and the Colts have already lost a timeout on that challenge, so they'll have 2 remaining.
Working exclusively out of the gun. Luck. Ball knocked away. He left it out there for Dwayne Allen, but Drayton Florence made sure that the rookie tight end couldn't secure it.
That's one of the tough things about being a rookie is seeing the entire coverage. You look, zeroing in on your receiver. Sometimes you don't see the coverage coming from the outside, and Florence was right there. That ball could have been popped up in the air for an easy interception.
Bruce Arians spent 8 years, the last 8 years, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Quarterback himself back at Virginia Tech. Left the Hokies program in '74. Luck under pressure, underthrown. Florence over there against Donnie Avery, and it brings up 3rd down.
Yeah, it looked like Van Bosch got to Luck just as he was releasing the ball here. Watch number 93. Going to go around Costanzo, then dip inside. And just enough of Luck to force that incompletion.
3rd and 10, 6:49 remaining. Luck hooks a pass right to the Lions. Don Carey, his 2nd of the day. And Bruce Arians just took a shot. Andrew Luck, 3rd INT.
Yeah, just had a little bit too much smoke on this one. T.Y. Hilton had the deep in cut, and the ball sails on Luck. Zone coverage by the Lions here. Here's the route, and then sitting back behind it all is Carey. Ball thrown right over the top to Hilton, and we hope that Coach Arians is okay on the sidelines.
The Colts are now minus 16 in turnover margin. That was Bruce Arians with a headset on, trying to get out of the way. Andrew Luck, 17 of 38, 279 yards, couple of touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. 19 of their 24 turnovers have been on the road. Michael LaShore bangs his way into Indy territory for an 8-yard gain.
This is so scary on the sidelines. Arians hitting the back of his head on the ground after the contact from Carey. It's been a long time since he's been hit that hard.
Bruce Arians was open to the idea of retirement after it didn't work out with Pittsburgh. He and his wife had packed up the final bit of furniture from the Pittsburgh area and began their drive and got a call from Chuck Pagano during that drive saying, hey, I want you to come coach in Indianapolis. LaShore with the cut. And LaShore has got a first down across the 45. Clock continues to roll. We're down to 5:35 remaining now in the fourth quarter.
Big third down, a big conversion there to pick up that first down for the Lions. Now they can work on the clock a little bit.
Detroit just trying to get back on the winning track. They've lost 3 in a row. A win would bring them to 5-7 and at least get them into the conversation, although on the back end of the conversation with all the teams fighting for playoff position in the NFC. LaShore is dropped right at the 45 by Antonio Johnson.
And the tough schedule that the Lions have, having to play at Green Bay, indoors at Arizona. Arizona, a puzzling team this year. Atlanta's having an outstanding year, but at that point, they may not have anything to play for.
Right.
And who knows about Chicago?
Arizona lost to the New York Jets today. Jim Schwartz and the Detroit Lions, a week full of headlines and drama. Sue and Schaub and the red flag from Schwartz, Titus Young and his insubordination. Sidearm toss. Pettigrew in that vicinity, but Stafford just looking to throw it away. 4:18 to play. Corey Redding put the pressure on Stafford.
How about throwing it 44 times and not being sacked once? Got to give this offensive line of the Lions a lot of credit. So important to have Jeff Backus back at his left tackle spot. Riley Reif did a good job last week filling in for him.
Yeah, the other part of you start to think what could have been some of these tough losses, including Thanksgiving, where it looked like they had the game won against Houston. Now instead of talking about 5-7, you might be talking about 6-6. Drop ball by Calvin Johnson.
I think you ought to cut him. I think he's done.
Yeah.
He can't play when he's tired. The ball thrown behind him and wasn't exactly a spiral from Stafford. Ball was almost end over end. And I'm sure the quarterback will forgive him.
Nick Harris will punt for the 6th time. T.Y. Hilton standing at the 10. Hilton banged down just short of the 15-yard line. 35-yard punt, 5-yard return. Bunch of close losses this season for the Detroit Lions. We take you back. Week 3 at Tennessee. Trailed by 3 in overtime. Sean Hill stuffed on 4th and 1. They lose at 44-41. Week 11 against Green Bay. Randall Cobb from Aaron Rodgers with 1:55 left. 24-20 loss. And then last week, Hanson hits the upright on the field goal in overtime. Shane Graham knocks through a 32-yard attempt. And the Lions fell to the Texans 34-31.
And they had such high expectations after a good year last year. But that's the difference between winning and losing sometimes in the NFL. You've got to have killer instinct. You've got to be able to finish games.
Luck with another opportunity. Incomplete. Lavon Brazil, intended receiver. Lions made the playoffs last year for the first time since 1999. They have never had a playoff game here at Ford Field. They played the Super Bowl here, but they've never had a Lions playoff game. Ford Field opened back in 2002. Hosted Super Bowl 40 when Pittsburgh knocked off Seattle. Brown in the backfield. Luck is now 17 of 39, under 4 minutes to go. Hits Donnie Avery. And Avery inbounds as he's tossed down by Chris Houston. 8-yard pickup.
Yeah, you would hope that Avery would try to fight to get out of bounds. Trying to get extra yardage, which is meaningless at this point. Time is of the essence.
3rd and 2 for the Colts. Luck again hit. And the wobbly throw comes out. And Ndamukong Suh, you might hear the reaction from the crowd.
There he is, number 90. And again, it's been a constant pressure from Suh as he takes to the inside there. That time working against Lickenbach again.
4th and 2, they have to go for it here. 3:29 to play, down by 2 scores. Allen goes in motion. Luck steps up, and Luck will run for the first down. And a flag is thrown.
This may be a horse collar tackle.
Personal foul. Defense number 98. Horse collar tackle. 15 yards out to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
It is 8 yards. And then Nick Fairley grabs him. There's no hair to grab onto here.
Clearly on the back of the jersey, right around the shoulder pads. That's the definition of a horse collar tackle right there. Smart play by Luck, knowing he needed just a couple yards to get the first down.
And Fairley has come off the field to the Detroit sideline. Shotgun formation. Luck, 8 penalties against Detroit. Dump off. Brown angles himself out of bounds. So he worked his way sideways, eventually hit by Levy and Houston. 3:16 mark of the 4th quarter. 6-yard gain for Brown. And he comes up limping. We talked about Indianapolis, how good they've been in close games. The Lions have been the exact opposite. 9 of their 11 games have been decided by 8 points or less. They are 3-6 in those games. 2nd and 5. Luck almost had it picked again. Florence would have had his second of the day.
Well, they're just playing zone defense, watching the quarterback's eyes and breaking on the ball. They're really not all that concerned with getting beat deep because the safeties are playing so deep. So the corners are able to break on those slant routes. Yeah, do some push-ups and punishment there, Drayton Florence, because you had yourself another interception.
Now it's 3rd and 5 for Indy. Luck, first down throw as he connects with Ballard. Coming into this game, in the 4 losses, Andrew Luck's completion percentage was 51%, and he had 9 interceptions. Obviously, the quarterback plays such a big role in the wins and losses, but you look at his numbers in the wins, and they're off the charts. If Luck plays well, often Indianapolis finds a way to win. Luck downfield. Touchdown, Levon Brazil. Andrew Luck keeps the play alive and hits Brazil for 42 yards.
I think that the Lions defense has been just worn out at that front 4. They were not able to contain Luck in the pocket. He escaped to the left, and then he looked downfield, and Brazil standing all by himself at about the 5-yard line. Tough throw, running to his left, having to square his shoulders and get the ball on target. First touchdown of Levon Brazil's NFL career for the rookie. So the youngsters for the Colts paying off here. Watch his Luck looking left all the way. So he likes Brazil on this play. But the tackle by Willie Young just a little bit late on Luck. And then Florence gets beat deep for the score. Great concentration by Brazil.
And on this drive, Detroit had a chance at an interception. Drayton Florence, if he gets the pick, pretty much game over. Instead now, the Colts have a pulse.
They've got to take a look at this because it is a touchdown. So they're going to review this. It looked clear that Brazil had possession of that ball, didn't it?
Looked clear to me. 6th game for Andrew Luck with 300-plus passing yards. That's an NFL rookie record.
Here's Brazil down at the bottom of the screen, but the big thing is that Luck comes out of the pocket, and Florence just lets Brazil go right by him for some reason. This is what they're looking at.
It controls it right through.
Yep. Good job of securing it with one hand, really, as he hits the ground. Yeah, we were told that they were looking at the rollover there, but clearly the ball never came away from his body. Never moved at all. The important thing about that, obviously it's a touchdown and cuts the lead, but with 2:39 to go, 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts, the Colts don't have to onside kick here. They just have to play good defense when the Lions have the ball.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. The receiver maintained possession throughout the process of the catch. Touchdown.
Extra point coming from Adam Vinatieri to cut this to 5. 2:39 to go in the 4th. Andrew Luck, 341 yards, 21 of 45, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Well, the job that Luck did with the hurry-up offense, they went 85 yards in just 8 plays. And for some reason, Drayton Florence decides to let Levon Brazil get behind him. Luck buys time by sprinting out of the pocket to the left, keeping his eyes down the field, and just delivered a super ball.
Luck and the Colts still alive here in the 4th quarter. In a game where Detroit has put up 442 yards of offense, Jim Schwartz and his team still has to sweat through the result of this one.
The Colts used a timeout in the 3rd quarter, or blew a timeout by using a challenge on the catch that was ruled out of bounds on the Colts sideline. Bruce Arians still is convinced that T.Y. Hilton was inbounds on that play, but it appeared from our angle and everything we showed that his left toe might have been on the white.
And your viewpoint right here, still kick it off. Put your defense on the field with 2:39 left, 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, absolutely, because if you don't get the onside kick here, you're done. But if you play defense, you play a game of field position at this point, and you can stop the clock 3 times.
McAfee does kick it off. Stephon Logan had moved forward. McAfee booms it out of the back of the end zone. They can still get the ball with about 1:50 left if they stop them here on a 3-and-out. Let's get you caught up. Avery with a touchdown. 7-3 lead. Pettigrew, great grab for Detroit. And then LaShore stays on his feet to add to the Detroit lead in the second half. Spectacular catch by Johnson. He's had a number of them to expand the lead for Detroit in the second half. And then Andrew Luck able to hit Brazil for the touchdown and force Detroit now to at least get a first down or 2. It's a pitch. Bell. He's spilled out after the gain of 3 by Freeman. And a timeout called. We'll stop the clock with 2:32 left. Here's where we stand in the AFC playoff picture. Houston has clinched at 11-1. New England wins the AFC East at 9-3. Indianapolis is at 7-4. Pittsburgh 6-5. Cincinnati at 6-5 as well. Second half of our doubleheader coming up. It will be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Many of you will see that one. Also, Cleveland at Oakland. Cincinnati visiting San Diego. Matthew Stafford. 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. He's 27 of 46. Bell had the one long run for Detroit, 6 carries, 83 yards. LaShore has a touchdown run, 19 carries for 49 yards, but the running game did not develop for Detroit until this second half.
And if I'm the Colts, I'm really paying attention to Calvin Johnson. The type of day he's had, he has been the go-to guy, obviously, for Matt Stafford. He's been virtually unstoppable.
13 catches for Johnson, a personal high, 171 yards and a touchdown. Fake the handoff. Stafford looking to throw. Johnson still looking for the ball. Incomplete. Flag is thrown. Cassius Vaughn was holding on to the jersey of Calvin Johnson. Risky pass. You don't take time off the clock. But Detroit, aggressive.
Well, they're playing to their best player. Bruce Arians saying the ball is uncatchable, but was this called holding or is it called pass interference?
Pass interference. Defense number 32. Flag foul. Automatic first down.
Doesn't Bruce know that nothing is uncatchable with Calvin Johnson?
That's a great point. Here they are right down here. You can see the ball's in the air. That contact there, that tells me it's pass interference. But you're right, Johnson really never located this ball. This ball probably should be thrown with a little bit more touch on it, a little higher in the air, so the adjustment can be made by Johnson.
So now the best Indianapolis can do is get the ball with a minute left if they stop Detroit right here on 3 consecutive downs. Corey Redding does his part as he hits Joik Bell.
And he almost caused a fumble. He was right in there on the exchange. Great afternoon for the Megatron. One-handed catch there in the first half. A lot of intermediate routes, and then the bomb. Great adjustment and a fine throw by Stafford. Catch in the roll, and now the slam dunk by Megatron.
33-28, Detroit in front. Indianapolis has no timeouts remaining. They do have the 2-minute warning. It's a new career high, 13 catches today for Calvin Johnson, and there's no doubt the Jerry Rice single-season yardage record is going to be within reach over the final 4 games for Calvin Johnson and the Lions. The number 2 offense in the NFL, they have surpassed their season average. They are at 413 yards. Second and 12 for Detroit. A pitch. LaShore getting to the perimeter, and LaShore dishing out a little punishment on Buffet. And we're going to hit the 2-minute warning. Lions are going to face a 3rd down with 2 minutes to play and a 5-point lead when we come back to Ford Field, the NFL on CBS. Drew Luck and the Colts hoping for a chance here with 2 minutes to play. Detroit in front, 33-28. And let's see how the Lions play this. Jim Schwartz, offensive coordinator Scott Linehan. You play the percentages here, Dan? Run the football?
Yeah, I think you got to run the ball, let the clock run down. Remember, Nick Harris is great at avoiding touchbacks, so play the field position game, make the Colts go a long way with no timeouts to work with.
They did throw earlier in this drive, but it is going to be a pitch. LaShore, first down, the game is over, but he can't get anywhere close. Out to midfield. And a 1-yard gain as Ricardo Matthews makes the stop for Indy. So Harris will come on.
You know, now the question is for Indianapolis, do you try to block this punt or set up for a return? Harris has not had any punts blocked this year, but he does have 4 blocks in his career.
He has just 1 touchback on the season, and it came earlier today. 6 punts, averaging 45.5 yards per kick. T.Y. Hilton had a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown last week. AFC Special Teams Player of the Week after his performance against Buffalo. They had a timeout called. They let the clock tick down to 1 on the play clock. And Detroit will have one timeout remaining. Andrew Luck getting ready. Second half of the NFL on CBS doubleheader. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Cleveland is in Oakland. San Diego hosting Cincinnati. It's coming up when we're done here at Ford Field.
And by calling that timeout, the Colts got a chance to look at how the Lions were going to protect and vice versa. So now the special teams coaches are huddling on the sidelines. And we might see a different type of alignment for the Colts as they have to decide now. Go after it or try to return it. Cannot let this ball hit the ground and roll around, though, if you're the returner.
Muehlbach will snap it. Harris, they handle the rush, trying to angle it towards the sideline, and he does. It will not be returned. Colts want him to march down the field and give him better field position. Hilton is pointing down towards the 30, and it stops at the 25. 25-yard punt. Close games, a lot of them for Indianapolis. Week 2, Adam Vinatieri, 53-yard field goal, 8 seconds left. They win at 23-20. Week 4 against Green Bay, Reggie Wayne the touchdown, a 30-27 win. Week 8 at Tennessee, Vic Ballard, 16-yard touchdown reception in overtime. The Colts take that one 19-13. They are 6-1 in games decided by one possession. It's a 5-point lead for Detroit. 1:07 to play. First down from the 25 for Luck and the Colts. Luck steps up. Luck won't go down. He gets pushed forward just across the 35. They're going to mark him down just short of the 35-yard line, a 9-yard gain.
And a smart spike by Luck there to stop the clock. How about that scramble as he went right up the middle there? Got close to a first down. That might have been one that they could have reviewed. It'll be third down and just a half a yard for Luck, but it appeared that he picked up the first down there.
Yeah, he didn't slide.
No.
Yeah, he's a runner at that point. 3rd and 1 after the spike. 52 seconds left. Luck in the pocket. Luck throws. Oh, terrific grab by Wayne. Tremendous hands. And the Colts are rushing to the line. It's a first down in Detroit territory. He's going to clock it here. And stops the clock with 37 seconds left. A 26-yard hookup. Luck to Wayne, who's had a quiet day.
Fabulous throw and an equally fabulous catch by Reggie Wayne. Here's Wayne down here. He's going to go right down the seam, but Luck's got to drop it in over defenders, over Lacey's head. Great catch, too, by Wayne.
Colts have no timeouts left. They trail 33-28, 37 seconds left on the clock. Shotgun, Luck. Luck is going to run. He's got an angle. Andrew Luck straddling the sideline. And a first down for Indianapolis with 29 seconds left. 16 yards for Luck.
And he outran Ndamukong Suh around the corner there to get all those yards. He has no idea who's chasing him. There goes Suh and Luck inside the 25.
Bruce Arians talked about the leadership skills of Luck. That's what separates him from other guys. His toughness has won his teammates over, and more than anything else, he's got a knack for getting it done in the clutch. 29 seconds left. 5-point lead for Detroit. First down for Indianapolis. Play clock is down to 1. Luck steps. Luck throws. Incomplete. 24 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it was a good idea by Luck to throw that ball away. As he's in range now, there's a lot of things they can do here. Every ball will be towards the end zone. They don't have a lot of time to throw short passes and get to the line of scrimmage and spike the ball to stop the clock. So I would suspect that he would be aiming for the end zone here. And if I'm the Lions, I'm checking out Reggie Wayne, making sure I've got him contained. Wayne looks like he's going to line up here. Watch him go in motion here on this play, maybe.
2nd and 10 for Indianapolis. Luck steps up. Pump. Luck throws underneath. Dwayne Allen ducks out of bounds. 18 seconds left. And it is enough for a first down. Lawrence Jackson was a little slow to get up. Now he'll come off for Detroit. 10-yard pickup.
I really like that play design. He had three receivers all going towards the sidelines. Watch this. And so if the catch is made, one of the three are going to step out of bounds. It turns out it's Allen this time, but really a well-designed play.
Number 1 overall pick, the polished Andrew Luck, trying to rally the Indianapolis Colts, one of the feel-good stories in the NFL. Luck, end zone, incomplete. Reggie Wayne got his hands on it. 14 seconds left. 5-point lead for Detroit.
Boy, Don Carey's got a couple of interceptions today, but this play here is bigger than those other two interceptions. Watch Carey with the right hand, or left hand rather, go over and knock the ball out of Reggie Wayne's hands. He separated his hands from the ball, and that's not something you see every day.
Luck thought he had it. 14 seconds to play. 33-28 Detroit. Luck in the pocket. Steps up. Luck rifles. Incomplete. Double coverage. Reggie Wayne the target. Jacob Lacey, the former Colt, got a piece.
Right, and that's where Luck really had to make a decision there, a split-second decision, whether to run it or throw it. He knows he doesn't have enough time to probably run this one in. Double coverage in the back of the end zone on Wayne. But Luck finally is able to step up into the pocket and have time to throw.
Stafford can't bear to watch. 8 seconds left. Timeout, Lions.
That's a good timeout by Jim Schwartz. His team is gassed right now. They also saw the formation the Colts were lining up in, so they'll have a better idea now on what could be the last play of the game, on how they want to defend the Colts and Andrew Luck.
Both teams are out of timeouts. 8 seconds left to play. Furious comeback attempt by Indianapolis.
How big was that play in the back of the end zone by Don Carey on Reggie Wayne moments ago? It looked like Wayne had the ball and with both feet in for the touchdown.
Colts have won 5 of their last 6. One of the biggest surprise stories in the NFL this year. Lions trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. One of the biggest disappointments in the NFL this year. 8 seconds left. Out of the gun. Luck steps. Luck fires. Incomplete. 4 seconds remaining. And it's 4th down. Donnie Avery, the intended receiver.
You know, Donnie Avery goes about 5'11". He'd have to be about 8'11" to make this catch. He did get the single coverage that they were looking for, but great position by Chris Houston. Kobe Fleener would be a good target right now for me. And he's out of the game at 6'6". But take a look at Dwayne Allen down the middle, maybe. He's a primary.
Here we go. Final seconds. Luck steps. Luck, a little flip. Donnie Avery, he's in. Touchdown. Indianapolis has done it. Andrew Luck has shocked the Lions. (34-33), Indianapolis.
Here's the line of scrimmage, the 14-yard line. See just how close Luck gets to crossing it. Avery on the short, just about a yard. He is well behind that 14-yard line. This will stand. His whole body has to be over that 14. He got it to Avery and almost beats Avery into the end zone.
He's running stride for stride. What else can go wrong for the Detroit Lions? You must kick the extra point despite the fact time has run out. Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions are stunned.
And once the Colts went to the hurry-up offense, they put the game in Andrew Luck's hands. The whole offense changed for Indianapolis. Threw the ball on rhythm, got it completions, got momentum, got confidence. Got the big bomb to Brazil, and then the heads-up little pitch forward to Donnie Avery for the winner.
391 yards, 4 touchdowns. Wise beyond his years does not even do him justice. They went 11 plays, 75 yards in 1:07, Dan Fouts, and the Colts come back to win it on the road at Ford Field.
They have a belief, don't they? And it's a belief in their quarterback, Andrew Luck. A fantastic job. Congratulations.
Final score, 35-33. The second half of our doubleheader is coming up with the Steelers and Ravens, the Bengals and Chargers, and the Browns and the Raiders. For Dan Fouts, our entire crew, this is Ian Eagle. So long from Detroit, Andrew Luck. He's got magic in that right arm. You've been watching the NFL.